Hi everyone, this is Kelly Jones. I'm a graduate student at the University of North Texas, majoring in learning technologies. This is my submission for the assignment of a course redesign. I chose to redesign the course 6042, Mindfulness, Practice, Theory, and Science. Hope you enjoy. So as we all know, stress is everywhere in daily life, especially as a college student. And for some of us who are college students as well as working adults, the stress can be overwhelming. So, in an effort to combat that, some colleges and universities have started offering meditation courses, more specifically, mindfulness meditation courses to its students. In this paper, I will focus my attention on the redesign of course 6042, Mindfulness, Practice, Theory, and Science, which is offered for credit in the graduate program at Lesley University, located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. My intent is to redesign the course to make it accessible to anyone in the world who has internet access at no cost. I'm sure the thought of getting something for free sounds great, especially if it's going to help reduce our stress level, right? So, but you may be asking, well, what is meditation? Though the terms meditation and mindfulness are often interchanged, they're not the same. Meditation is more specifically a practice where an individual uses a technique to focus the mind on a particular object, thought, or activity to train attention and awareness and achieve a mentally clear, emotionally calm, and stable state. There are many different types of meditation, but again, for the purpose of this exercise, we're going to focus specifically on mindfulness meditation. We'll find out what that is next. What is mindfulness meditation? Mindfulness meditation is a type of meditation that focuses on being intensely aware of one's senses and feelings in the moment without interpretation or judgment. In the redesign of this course, I would choose to add the class to a platform such as Coursera or edX, referred to as MOOCs or MOOCs, which specifically stands for Massive Open Online Courses. These MOOCs provide free access to thousands of courses to anyone with internet access. In order to redesign this course, I feel like the following issues must be addressed: course design, learning outcomes, student activities, course structure, and course communication. Because mindfulness meditation is so deeply personal, I feel like the course objectives needed to also be extremely personal. So, for that purpose, for my redesign, the course objectives would be: recognize controllable and uncontrollable stressors in people's lives, accept what is uncontrollable, manage what is controllable to the best of their ability, identify and name things that cause them anxiety, and use mindfulness meditation techniques to help reduce stress. Because MOOCs are based on the theory of a global classroom, traditional assessment really isn't possible. An alternative to standard assessment of projects as proof of competency is educational badges. These badges call for the breaking down of the course into sections, and once completed to a determined level of accuracy, will result in the earning of a badge. It's not the traditional way to determine if students have learned information, but you're kind of limited due to the fact that it is a global classroom. There are a lot of things to consider when changing a higher educational classroom from face to face to virtual, especially when you're doing it on a global scale. Some of the things that I consider important specifically for this course redesign are student study environment, cultural adaptability, course or program limitations, language, and computer access and literacy. Let's talk about the key considerations. A student study environment is vital to the success of the student in the course. Bottom line, distractions should be kept at a minimum if at all possible. Next, cultural adaptability. The last thing you want to do as an instructor is do something that would be considered insensitive or insulting to one of your students. It is vital to keep information as clear and concise as possible with limited use of slang. Course limitations. There's really only so much that can be offered for a free course. The question is, at what point does the free content end and the paid content begin? It would be logical to expect that a student that's paying for a course would expect to have more access to instructors, assessments, teaching assistants, and potentially certifications or grades as opposed to someone taking the course for free. So there needs to be a definite dividing point between those two types of content. Language is probably one of the biggest hurdles to overcome when building a global classroom. That's why it is vital that there be tools and contingencies built into the design to help students who aren't native speakers of the instructor. Computer access and literacy is important in the world of MOOCs because you have students from all over the world who want to learn things that they only have access to through the internet. So these students have to have the necessary competencies as in terms of how certain software and technologies work in order to be successful in the class. So what's the connection? Well, a student's environment many times is within their culture, and this would include their language and physical space. So participating in a course being taught by someone who's from outside the culture, it can be a culture shock. The informal language and figures of speech, even physical gestures used by the teacher can be confusing, even alienating. These issues are related because they play a role in how people communicate. Think about it this way. Suppose you're in a class where the instructor tells you to call them by a specific nickname. And in your culture, that nickname may mean something negative. Well, you may be less inclined to ask for help from that instructor because culturally you don't really know how to respond to that person accordingly. Just as the environment, culture, and language are related in the context of global learning, so too are course limitations and computer access and literacy. The level of competency a student has with technology will have an effect on how much they desire to learn from the course, and that can correlate to the course's limitations. If a student has a high computer literacy in a specific subject and they enroll in a MOOC, but later determine that the free class is an introductory course, that free course is of no use to that student. This is the point where the student's computer literacy and course limitations cross paths, as the student requires more than the free MOOC might provide. Relationship characterization. The relationships that exist between the key considerations can be considered to me as tiered, meaning they're stacked upon each other. Each element can exist independently of the others, but when placed together, they create a fortified unit. That unit consists not only of the parts that I've named here, but also instructional designers, software developers, and the actual universities who host and sponsor these programs on the platforms. I think it is vitally important that all of these parts come together and do as much as they can to create an environment and a system that works well, not just for them as providers, but more importantly, for the students who sign up for the courses. Just a few final thoughts. This assignment gave me a whole new level of appreciation and respect for people who create educational content, from the teachers and instructors to instructional designers, software developers, administrators, anyone involved in the process of creating content to teach others. It is a massive undertaking, and I never would have thought that it would require that much attention to detail. So I'm definitely thankful that I learned the things that I did, and I look forward to trying to utilize some of my new learned skills later on. Thanks.